How's it going, everybody? My name is FaZe Crypto. You can connect with us on Snapchat. All that being said, today we are talking about Tron, and there is a lot of really exciting news that's been going on revolving around Tron. A lot of significant attention that people have been paying to the project, and I think it's really well overdue. Especially we're seeing, here is how Tron will become the Apple of crypto and blockchain. Tron is about to decentralize the web and reshape the world. This is what we've been talking about, people, for a really long time. This is the public consciousness really starting to adapt to the potential that is Tron, and really the vision that we've been on board with for so long. Those of us who've been advocates of Tron and really interested in it and paying attention for the long haul. And ultimately I think that what we're seeing happening right now is people paying attention to this really significant project, and really what we really need to turn our attention to now is the roadmap for Tron and the potential that's really going to be explored, and it's ultimately going to be tested as we move into Q3 of 2018. That's ultimately where a lot of the big decisions are going to be made. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about was the issue of centralized versus decentralized. Now, when it comes to Tron and the way that they're decentralizing the web, this is ultimately where the future is going to go. I mean, there's a clear difference between a centralized system and a decentralized system, and ultimately I think this is something that people, once they wrap their minds around it, if you wanted to really convince anybody of the potential that's in store for Tron, I'd simply show them the real, data and of course how these various different things are going to be functioning in real life time, and it's basically trends are moving towards the decentralized way, whether people like it or not. So it is pretty interesting. So it looks like we're seeing some much needed upward mobility, a lot of green across the board. Pretty exciting. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are really feeling pretty pumped up watching this recent activity that we've been seeing across the board, and it is pretty nice to see this sort of activity. Let's be honest with ourselves. At the very top we got 10x, almost 50% right there, Power Ledger, and then Dogecoin. Some interesting technologies. Always interesting to see the leaders, the ones that are up the most in these sort of times like these. And of course this is a welcome upward return back to where we were only a few weeks ago, before we were seeing a lot of the various different bumps that have been along the way, and of course a lot of the various different plummets and dips and various different bad days and good days. But of course it is nice to see of course Neo on this list, and of the top ones that have been performing the best of late. And I'm interested. I mean, obviously there's a real trend. I mean, things like Monero, privacy coins, it is interesting to see Theta token doing pretty well as well. And of course, just congratulations to everybody who foresaw this sort of activity, because there were obviously people who were buying the dip and then selling in the green. And I mean, hats off to everybody who saw this coming. I mean, basic attention as well on this list. I mean, interesting, very interesting stuff. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where crypto is going to be headed. I mean, in particular, Tron up 8.97, not bad at all. And certainly it is a sign that there is a lot of potential. Certainly with the market cap where it is right now at 273, much more improved than it has been in the past. And it is interesting to see these certain variables coming back together. And I think this will ultimately serve to the public's consciousness. Bitcoin extends gains as And you know, it is interesting to see these different news articles as they pick up on these things, because it really does kind of show how these things are fake news. You know, obviously these they love to crap all over cryptocurrency when things are bad, but ultimately a lot of these different news sources like MSNBC, they're really just reacting. They're not really thinking and really doing their research. They're essentially just they see what happened and then they create the headlines. You know, but this is ultimately why it's important to do your own research when it comes to this space, and not really believe what you hear from too many sources on face value. It's important to just delve into you know, an understanding of the technologies in and of itself. And you know, as far as Tron goes, I definitely believe in Justin's son in particular. And there is a lot of potential in store for these technologies, and I think the decentralized proponents of the web are ultimately going to become an interesting variable as we see these technologies really moving forward in an interesting way across the board. I'm very excited to be seeing all these various different performance capabilities. Of course, Bitcoin doing fairly well as well. I mean, you have to take it, you know, hats off to Bitcoin at 6,750. And then of course, I mean, I think we're very much on the road to see Bitcoin at 7,000 again, and then from there I think we'll start to see you know, some more upward mobility. Of course, cryptocurrency is very volatile, so bear that in mind, that a lot of these different gains could be short-lived, but of course you never really know with these things. Like I said, I mean, time will tell as we see these different developments happening across the board, and that's why it's always interesting to follow your favorite cryptos on Twitter, you know, just to stay up to date for the most you know, up to date source of information. You know, the live news feed sort of approach to you know, staying a good understanding. I think Tron really does have a strong community behind it, and of course I think as we see platforms like YouTube and Twitter coming to a steady decline, we're ultimately going to see you know, a lot more demand for these alternative platforms, especially as we see YouTube really taking a turn for the worst when it comes to the way that they treat their smaller content creators, and the way that they favor basically cable and all these like I mean, the news, I mean, CNNs and the Fox News. I mean, these are what's going to be the end of YouTube, is these Fox News and CNN, and this sort of nobody really cares about the news. Sorry to say that, YouTube, but if anybody from YouTube is watching, I think that's the #1 thing that you could take away from that. What people go to YouTube for is independent commentators and people who say the news themselves, like this man right here, Taro Warwick. You know, he has a really great YouTube channel that talks about the news much better, much more honest than really any of these CNNs or Fox News. I don't trust them as far as they can I could throw them. I really trust you know, Styx much more, and of course I definitely recommend you guys go and check him out for news and that sort of thing. I always watch his content. It's much better than these sort of you know, I just much prefer watching content that's created from people who you know, are at their houses sitting in front of a webcam, rather than these huge corporations that are owned by, it's just too impersonal, these CNNs and so forth. I'd much rather people who are on social media, who know how to use the internet, and ultimately that's what cryptocurrency is a sign of. And I think that we'll definitely be seeing Tron overtaking a lot of the different competition, and in particular Steam is one of those also very interesting cryptos in that same conversation that's been happening involving the way that cryptocurrency can really take a bite out of the YouTubes and the Googles and the Twitters and the Facebooks, in particular when we're seeing the different conversation that's happening in the public space revolving around Facebook and how they've been treating data. I think that conversation definitely goes hand in hand with cryptocurrency, and it being introduced to the public in a really big way. So there are a lot of big opportunities that are opening up for Tron as things have been moving forward, and we see the decline of YouTube, and we see the rise of these different alternatives. And of course, I mean, I'm definitely going to give a shout out to this video by DustyBC, because I was actually watching this content, and not only DustyBC, but of course TRON. These were two really great videos that I was watching, and I think today these guys, both of them together, earned the reward of the best Tron videos that I've seen probably for the past week. These are some of the best videos that I was watching that really went into detail regarding a lot of similar things that we talked about in this video, but of course expanding upon those points in really interesting ways. Now, all that being said, you know, I am not a financial advisor. This video is not financial advice. This video is for entertainment, educational purposes only. But of course, I definitely like to shout out CryptoTone. Definitely has a really good opinion, and I guess it's important to share everybody's opinion so that we can all essentially be on the same page, and essentially learn and develop as a community, because it is really great how we've seen this community growing on YouTube and all these different you know, points of view that we've been able to hear. But ultimately, when it comes to Tron, I have a lot of faith in the team that's working on it, in particular Justin's son. I think that whole area of the world that Tron concerns itself with, because it is on a global scale, and that's one of the fundamental potential that's in store for crypto as a space, is the fact that it leverages people all around the world basically having you know, this interaction in a way that's unprecedented. But all that being said, no, I definitely do have a lot of faith in Tron. I mean, you could tell a lot about the project by looking at its founder, and you know, a company with all the things we've gone over in this video, I think we can be expecting a lot of really interesting things for Tron as things continue to move forward. But all that being said, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this content. You know, we actually recently reached a milestone on this channel, so you know, I think that it's cool to just give a shout out to the community, you know, the live subscriber count and so forth. It is really exciting to see how this channel has been growing so much since day one. In such a short amount of time, we've actually you know, come so far, and I'm just proud of everybody who's joined on board. So if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, and of course you guys can connect with us on our Twitter as well. And you know, all that being said, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this content, and yeah, the Twitter of course is you know, at CryptoTuber, and you can connect with us on Snapchat as well. And all that being said, you guys, I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.